Our case study is about prevention and psychology, in which it's related to sexual psychology disorder in psychology. In the case studies, the preventions refer as sinful, immoral, unnatural, and against human nature, which is it is an act that did not result in reproductions. Meanwhile, in psychology, it is known as sexual disorder, which is an act that is not normal and it may harm the individuals or other people. The case study focuses on how does people denying this disorder and how does it lead to other sexual disorder, in which in psychology is known as sexual dysfunction defects, which is conflicting behavior of individual habits towards sexual stimuli and reactions. Also, in the case studies, it had mentioned that more research should be conducted in order to treat those who had diagnosed with this disorder, so it becomes treatable instead of immoral or sinful. In psychology, disorder able to be treated by looking at the factor to disorder, and through that, the psychiatrist able to choose the best solutions to treat this disorder. Early perceptions of preventions, as described in the article, were mostly centered on bestiality, homosexuality, and masturbations. As a replacement for sexual preventions, the term paraphilia was later coined by renowned physicians and psychologists Wilhelm Stecker. Paraphilias are persistent and recurring sexual attractions, desires, fantasies, or intense behavior involving unusual items, actions, or even circumstances. A specific object such as clothing, an animal, or a child, or a specific activity such as inflicting pain or exposing one body can serve as the focal point of paraphilia or sexual preventions. An obsession with the behavior or objects to the point of dependence on it for sexual gratification sets it apart from other behavior. There are various kinds of paraphilias, and each one constructs the suffer sexual excitement in distinct way. For instance, verism, which is observing a person who is naked, disturbing or engaging in sexual activities; exhibitions, which is exposing one's sex organ to another person; and sense goes to other several types of sexual reasons such as fetishism, futurism, and pedophilia. As students who study psychology, our opinion regarding the broad area that has been selected, which is sexual psychology disorder, is that this disorder definitely affects not just the person who has been diagnosed with this disorder, but it also affects those who are around them, especially those who are near to them. This disorder may or may not harm other people, and what even worse is that anyone could become the victim. This disorder definitely not an issue if the individual itself know how to overcome it by getting a treatment, as it may help them from getting even worse. And they have to know that it is nothing to be ashamed of by having disorder, and for them to try to seek for help, as it may benefit them and also the other people as well. And as a person who is not diagnosed with this disorder, we also play an important part, which is we need to know that it is important for us to not judging them. Instead, what we should do is that we should encourage them to get treatment and for them to try to seek for help.
Next, I will present the factors that we believe may contribute to the development of this psychological disorder. One of the most notable factors is the disruption of sexual development throughout childhood. This is because it is hypothesized that the likelihood of developing paraphilia is higher in people who are socialized in a very liberal or over-restricting the sexual environments during childhood. Additionally, factors associated with the stages of psychological development during childhood, such as temperament and trauma repetition, can also be considered to be one of the factors. Moreover, this disorder is also considered as a sign of delayed psychosexual maturation, where paraphilia behavior serving as a person's defense mechanism against anxiety. It has been claimed that paraphilia disorder can emerge when anxious impulses are triggered by unusual sexual stimuli. Family is another risk factor that contributes to development of this paraphilia. The mother's lack of affection and general sense that children are not handled properly by their parents, or significant conflict between parents, and poor parental mentoring are examples of this. On the other hand, as was indicated in the article, Freud also believed that the sex was the outcome of libido, which is characterized as a desire for pleasure, and he also believed that pleasure was essential to sex motivation. In this scenario, the learning of classical operant conditioning can be considered to be significant because it is related to this psychological disorder. Classical conditioning is referred to as one sort of unconsciously or automatically occurring learning. In voyeurism, for instance, viewing a naked person serves as the conditioned stimulus, while sexual organ stimulation serves as the unconditioned stimulus, and the satisfaction of sexual pleasure serves as the unconditioned response. The conditioned response of sexual pleasure will therefore be produced in the future just by the presence of conditioned stimulus. Additionally, the learning of operant condition is also connected to this sexual perversion. Through operant conditioning, actions that are rewarded are more likely to be repeated than actions that are penalized. For example, in this case, a person with exhibitionist obsession decides to show his or her genital area to others in the expectation of becoming sexually aroused. In this case, the individual's sexual satisfaction is the primary reinforcer. Thus, having an orgasmic experience reinforces the exhibitionist behavior, which raises the likelihood that one may respond inappropriately, in this case, sexual perversion, making it more probable that it will occur again in the future. That's all from me. Thank you.
I'm brilliant for the question 5. For question 5, the brain is the most complex, adaptable and reversible network and regular mental function and run with behavior. When explain the human psychology, the evolutionary psychology approach emphasizes the implication of the reproduction, nurture, selection and adaptation here of the research and convince many scientists that behavior is a product for the interaction of the biology, healthy, and the environment, which consider how nervous system developed to its current of the complexity. The biological of the physical makeup and of human of the major impact on how people behave is a curious and realized to human brains and is very complex biological nature. Research have only sketched of the face how they know about the memory of the activity of the human brains. Many behavior patterns of the influenced by the brain. In addition, for studying with a suffer brain injury, there are 3 ways we can learn on how brain function. The children begin from the organized activity, make up games, and start group activity. Given the opportunity, children how individually for develop confidence in their ability to guide others make judgment. The basic building for block of the nervous system are neurons. The brain of the spinal make up the central nervous system, which are CNS, while the rest of the body make up for the peripheral nervous system, PNS. Behavior occur in the body when neurons in the CNS carry signal from the brain to the spinal to the PNS. The result in automatic activities such as breathing and muscle activity. Information is obtained from the PNS and travel through the spinal back to the where is processed for produce sensory and response. The signal of the event would not have even possible without the firing of the neutron within and central nervous system. That's all for me. Thank you.
There are 2 types of treatments that can be used in order to address the psychosexual issues. For the first one is that psychological treatment. So basically, one of the most famous or successful psychological treatment is that behavior cognitive therapy. So this therapy or treatment is appeared to be the most famous type for psychological treatment. So in this treatment, it typically includes effort to improve cognitive processes as well as effort to change the behavior habit. So, for example, the psychiatrist might teach their patient to relax their own body when they wanted to do their sexual desire. For example, for those patients that are facing hypersexual disorder, they will be learning ways to control themselves from doing sexual activities such as masturbation or doing sexual activities. So one of the ways for them to avoid them doing this kind of thing is that like gardening or reading their book. So if they are consistent in doing these practices, they will get used to their new hobby and they can get rid of their whole habit, which is the sexual activities oftenly. Next, the treatment that can be used in order to address the psychosexual issues is that drug treatment. So basically, there are some medicines that can be used to decrease sexual desire without diminishing one sexual interest. It has been proven that androgenic hormones stimulate sexual desire without changing the direction of the sexual interest. And next one, like for example, Ben Perodol, which is reported to have a low fantasy rather than eliminate the potency, and also the cyproteron aesthetic and antioxidant that operate on the pituitary gland and has a castring effect without finishing. So with this kind of medicine, it's actually or drug, it can control one's sex desire. So when it's control their sex desire, they will not like having issues such as hypersexual. So that's all from me. Thank you.
There are two psychological theories that are relevant to our case study choice. Firstly, the psychosexual disorder. This term refers to sexual issues that have a psychological cause and do not result from a pathological illness. It may be brought on by past mental or physical trauma, guilt, stress, uneasiness, fear, or anxiety. There are numerous varieties of psychosexual illnesses, which typically include sexual dysfunction, paraphilias, and disorders of gender identity. If we dig deeper into this hypothesis, there are other sorts of psychosexual disorders as well, such as behaviors associated with pedophilia, exhibitionism, voyeurism, frotteurism, sadism, masochism, transvestic fetishism, and necrophilia. Through this theory on psychosexual development and his psychoanalytic sex drive theory, Sigmund Freud contributed to the concept of psychosexual diseases and advanced study on the subject. As a youngster, one will pass through 5 phases of development, including oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital. Fixation happens when there is too little stimulation at a given level, and getting excessively obsessed might result in a psychosexual illness. Next, social psychology in behavior is also relevant to this case study. According to Gordon Allport's traditional definition, social psychology is the study of how people's thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are affected by the actual, imagined, or inferred presence of other people. All of us are unique, and the traits that make us who we are, such as our personality traits, desires, motivations, and a significant influence on how we behave in social situations. However, the social environment, such as the individuals we meet with daily, has a significant impact on our behavior as well. These include the ones we think about, remember, or even imagine, as well as our friends and family, classmates, our religious communities, the people we watch on TV, read about in books, or communicate with online. This process is known as social influence. As we are all aware, psychosocial and cultural factors can also contribute to psychosexual problems, such as poor sex education, conflicts with one's family or religion, or beliefs that sex is dirty or sinful, or that it is only appropriate for married people and harmful for those who are not married to engage in such behavior. Because there is a lack of information about healthy sex education, people who access pornography videos illegally assume that the contents are all normal and acceptable.